Good morning, traders. Today is Tuesday, June 28th. My name is Charles, and this is the Pirate Traders live stream. My apologies, I'm running a bit late this morning. Okay, so what are we looking at here in the market? Well, first things first, as far as the open here in a couple of minutes, what you should expect is chop, right? We're opening inside the previous day's range after two overnights in a row of balance. That increases the odds that the market will need to chop around for sure here this morning, probably for the first hour or so at least. So when that opening bell rings, you're just looking for grind and chop. And you, of course, just want to trade between support and resistance. So if this is resistance and this is support, you would expect the market to kind of just keep grinding around inside that range. So that's right from the open. Okay, so now let's take a second. You know what to expect when that bell rings here in a minute. Let me take a step back and just talk about bigger picture, what could be happening in the market. Unfortunately, as I was talking about yesterday in the brigade room, I kind of see all three scenarios here. We had value overlapping to higher. So this was excess. We broke out of balance. We had balance down here. Okay. We broke out and started the process of excess. Balance leads to excess. Okay. So the excess was seen in the gap up and the single prints on Friday, and then also the spike up on Friday. That was all a sign of excess. Now, yesterday we had balance. We had rotation, but interestingly enough, we left the value area overlapping to higher. So what that means is we may still be in a phase of excess, and this was just a cooling off day. So if that is what's going to happen and we're going to get continuation higher, essentially what I'd be looking for today is first and foremost getting above yesterday's high. That would be enough. If we could push above there, come back down and find support, that would be enough to get me long, at the very least to test the overnight high. So yesterday's high is at 39.32 and the overnight high is at 39.38. So there's a trade from there to there. And then if the market can get above the overnight high, come back down and find support, that would be very bullish to me for continuation to the upside and a continuation of that excess, in which case I'd be looking to fill the gap up to 40.1475. And then if the market, okay, so that's one scenario, right? Yesterday was just one cooling off day and we're going to get more excess to the upside, right? Now, what about balance? What if this was all the excess we were going to get? Right? And so now we need to balance off this excess. Well, there's two ways to do that. One is we either rotate sideways for a few days at a higher price until we're ready to either break out to the upside or downside, or we can repair that excess with price, which means pulling back down and backfilling the gap we left behind on Friday of last week. Okay? So it's like, so Charles, you're saying it could go up, it could go sideways, or it could go down. That's what you're telling us? Yeah, all three scenarios are in play today. So what we would be looking for, the main thing I'm focused on is this node right down here around 3,886.50. If that breaks, if we push down there and that breaks, we come back up and find resistance, that would be the short to go fill the gap down there. Like I said, getting above the overnight high, finding support, would be the long to go fill the gap up there, and a failure to do either of those things. So staying under the overnight high or above that node right there will give us the sideways chop. All right, so let's see what the market has for us. Overnight inventory was net long, so we were looking for a little bit of a counter auction to the downside. Did not get it. We're also looking for chop, but we're immediately trading higher, so that is bullish. So now that we've pushed above yesterday's high, we're looking for support when we pull back down to it. Man, I don't even have time to enter my own trades. Shit's crazy this morning. So again, looking for support around 39.32. All right, so now I am bullish. Now that we got above that overnight high, looking for support either at the overnight high or at yesterday's high. Obviously, this that we're getting right now is just short covering and FOMO buying. So it will need to pull back down into support. We also, the ticks are completely oversold. So they're going to need a chance to pull back in, and we'll see how they react at the zero line. But as long as we stay above yesterday's high, I remain bullish. And if we pull back down into yesterday's range, I go back to neutral. We got a low volume node right here just below yesterday's high that needs some backfilling, and another one just above the overnight high, which needs some backfilling as well, and at the halfback. So this market needs to cool off for a second and come back and build some stronger hand support. All right, we seem to have new buyers up here. My guess would be their FOMO, but if they can push above the high here at 39.48, that will have been the support. I don't have the confidence to buy it, though, but I would buy it if we push higher and then pull back down into it once again. But, of course, buying it now is FOMO buying. All right, new buyers. They're trying to pump it. All right, so now we're testing the support we just created, this little node right here around 39.46. We've got good excess on the high, but not good taper. So that increases the odds. We need to head back up and get some more trade up here. Man, I'd really like to see them get these ticks back to the zero line. So I know that we've taken out all the weak hands buyers from the overnight. But the FOMO is real up here. Good morning, Caffeine. Welcome. Chilling with Dylan in the house. Blue shirt is here. The Shaw. Philip. John. Eldora. Cortman. David Glass back with us. Good to see you. Ed is here. Laser Eye. MW. Bossman. Elliot. Cyrus. Aviv. Good morning. Scooball is here. Eric. Welcome to you. T-Wark. Good morning. Sure. Good morning to you. Welcome. J Trader, good to see you. Sanju is here. Novice Trader. OM, good morning to you. JT, Chirp in the house. Arthur, man, everyone is here today. All the big names. All right, so now we're looking for support around that overnight high, around 39.38. They got that low volume node that needs to back or wants to backfill. It doesn't have to, but it sure would prefer to have at least 200 contracts. Scooball, Overnight was neutral or net long. It was net long, but only a tiny bit, right? It was rotational. But we did open above yesterday's close, so it was a little bit net long. Johnny be good, so stay out of the market today. Why on earth would you do that? Today's a day for making money. Are you reacting to me saying it could go up, down, and sideways? So go back and rewatch that. The magic of the way I look at markets is I can trade any of them. If it goes up, I'll know what to look for, and I know how to trade it. If it goes sideways, I know what to look for, and I know how to trade it. And if it goes down, I know exactly what will tell me it's going down and how to trade it. So just because anything is possible doesn't mean there are not opportunities to make money. It just means you must be open to anything happening. All right, so there's your backfill. Now we'll see if we can get some stronger hand buyers. Still got very thin volume in here. So if the buyers step in here at the overnight high, that is bullish. That they are desperate to get themselves long. Can't even wait for the proper pullback. Let's see if they've got it. John Lash. Market just chugged a Red Bull and said, let's fucking go. That is what it did this morning. That's funny. Took a line of Coke and it was like, let's party. Damn, more new buyers. Don't even need to test yesterday's high. Okay, so now is this node around 46, which was acting as support earlier, is this going to start acting as resistance? Or can we break back through it? Breaking through it would be bullish. So essentially the way I'm seeing it is like the first buyers in here were FOMO. Those are people that were just like, oh no, I have to get in the trade. When the market pulled back to the overnight high, that gave stronger hand buyers a chance to step in. And so now we're testing. Was this just more FOMO buyers, more short-term traders, or was this stronger hands? Stronger hands will be able to get through this resistance and continue higher. If it's just FOMO traders and they get resistance, they'll take profits and we'll pull back down looking for support again. So pretty important if we break this this node now. Let's pop over and take a quick look at the Q. Okay, Q not quite as bullish as the ES. They tested their overnight high and failed. So the Q actually looks a little more rotational to me. Potential support on a pullback at the halfback. 12,111, but you do have a lot of low volume below that. So you may have to come back to the opening price. Looking for support in there. And that is not bullish. So NQ looks a little more rotational here than the ES. Good morning, Pavel, Gunk, Rev, Elaine, John, Mick Stockster. The Shah. Hit the like button, folks. That's great advice. You know, they say, this is just what they say. I can't prove this to be a fact, okay? But it's what they say. They say if you hit the like button, you make twice as much money that day with your trading. I don't know why they say that, but that's what they say. So, I mean, if it could be true, worth hitting the like button just in case. Jose, good morning to you. All right, we're breaking through that resistance. So now, once again, getting above this high, 39.48, would be bullish for another push higher. As there's a lot of shorts building up in here, creating this resistance. So if we break, we'll get a little short covering rally, a little pop. Nope. All right, heading back down for support. So as I've said, the lesson here in the fact that we can't get through this resistance is that the buyers that stepped in at the overnight high were weak hands. They were short-term traders. So they just already took profits. So that tells me this is less likely to act as support again. We now probably need to pull back to yesterday's high to bring in the strong hands. If they didn't step in at the overnight high last time, they probably won't this time either. Percy, Charles, was there any sign that this was gonna or could happen? Yeah, value being higher. It was the first. Go back and watch the first 5 minutes. It was the first scenario I mentioned. So the breakout of balance that we had on Friday of last week, that began the process of excess, right? The balance was at bare minimum 3 days. You could argue it was like a week and a half of balance. Here, let me just zoom out and show you. So this is a tricky one to call a specific balance area, but either way, you have 3 days of balance here, or maybe you had like a week of balance here, or a week and a half. Either way, you wouldn't expect 1 day of excess, right? After 3 days of balance, you wouldn't expect it to just go up for a day. So yesterday could have been the beginning of balance again, right? Maybe that was all the excess that we're going to get. Whoops. I hate when it does that. Maybe that's all the excess we were going to get, and we got to go sideways or we got to go lower to balance that off. But the one little signal that we got, that's one of those magical market profile things, is the value area. If you look at this blue box, we can see that 70% of the day's trade took place higher than 70% of the day's trade the previous day. So even though it was just kind of a rotational balancing day, it still had momentum. So that tells us the excess isn't over. There is still momentum in the market. But there's no possible way I could have predicted that straight from the market open it would launch up like that. It could have just as easily spent a few hours grinding around here and then headed up, you know? All right, testing that overnight high. Do we have the buyers? If not, heading down to yesterday's high. All right, so as we pull down into support, I'm guessing we're getting those ticks back to 0. Yep, we did. Well, that's good. So we got value pulled higher than yesterday, completely higher. That is bullish. So remember what I said earlier, I remain bullish as long as we remain above yesterday's range. I'll let them pull in a little bit here, looking for support, just because we have this low volume node just below there. Oh, two of them actually, there's another one. So I'll let them pull into here just a little bit before I give up on my bullishness. But if they start to break back down into yesterday's range, I am back to neutral. Let's see if we get some buyers. Okay, first low volume node backfilled. All right, moment of truth. They've backfilled everything they need to. Ticks are trending down, so they should pull these back up above the zero line now, or we're heading back down into yesterday's range. Nope. New sellers piling on. All right, guys. Well, there goes the bullish narrative. Looks like it was just emotional buying. Everyone who freaked out by how fast it was moving jumped in without thinking it through, creating FOMO, which led to more FOMO. So now the market needs to cool off and let the stronger hands make a decision. It's still bullish. The value is higher. It's still bullish that we broke yesterday's high and the overnight high. So now it's just kind of a matter of where can the market find support. I would say if we break the A period low at 39.19, if we break that low, we're probably heading into this node here around 39.08, looking for support in there. So if you look at the cumulative, you can see this node here. If that one breaks, we're probably heading down to that one. But if that one can hold us, we can take another stab at those highs. NQ's initial balance is now to the downside. Their value is also overlapping to higher, which is less bullish. It is neutral to bullish. So it looks like the NQ wants some rotation here. We are looking for support around 12.024. and then 12,004. So this brings into the question, okay, so the NQ is different than the ES. All right, so let's just talk about the NQ by itself here. You got the excess. You got the overlapping to higher value. So it could have potentially kept going, but now you couldn't break yesterday's high. So now that's a new signal that excess, that momentum is done, right? We don't have it anymore. So now we're in the process of balance. Two ways to balance. We can rotate sideways at higher prices, or we can pull back down. So that is now the question on the NQ. Can they find support, right around yesterday's lows to just do the sideways thing? Or if yesterday's low breaks, that is very bearish, that we're probably heading down to fill that gap to 11,768. So yesterday's low will be very important for the NQ. If they break that, down she goes. But they're pushing into support now, so the battle should begin. Should see some buyers try to defend. Yeah, same story, man. Now we got the initial balance to the downside. Increasing the odds, we're heading down towards 39.08, looking for support in there. All right, here on the ES, the buyers seem to be stepping in. So I'm looking for a push back up towards yesterday's high. Looking for resistance there. Asterix asks, how do you interpret a close lower than value area, which is higher than the value area of the previous day? That would be a sign that the trend or the momentum is over. So let's say you had like value, 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 and then all of a sudden you had a day where value is lower. Then you know probably the momentum in the market is coming to an end. And you're either going sideways or you're pulling back. As long as the value areas continue to either be higher or overlapping to higher, it is a sign that there's likely still momentum. And of course, it makes sense, right? The value area represents 70% of the day's trade. The price can do anything. Price can go up and down anywhere it wants to go at any time. It's just an advertising mechanism. It's just basically trying to see, hey, can we do business up here? Nope. No one else wants to do business up there? Okay, cool. How about down here? Can we do business down here? Oh, great. Some buyers are stepping in. Cool, cool, cool. Then we'll go see if we can do business up here. That's all price is doing. It's just jumping around trying to figure out where people will do business. But 70% of the day's trade, that's a lot of volume. That's a lot of time. That's a lot of decision making. So to change a trend in value is a big change in the market. Whereas just breaking a particular level here or there with price, no big deal. Rocket consumer confidence, slightly bearish. Was that what did it to us? It was the news. Elliot. It turns out after the market chugged that Red Bull and started running, it ran straight into a wall and passed out. Now it's like it was running up a hill and then it just slowly started to like lose steam and then it fell down and now it's rolling down the hill. Red Bull, it gives you wings. Image of a person rolling down a hill. All right, well, we don't have the buyers to head back up and test the halfback. That's a little bit bearish. So it seems like we need to pull back down into that larger volume node, looking for support right around 39.09. Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and change my banner to bearish. I'm not super bearish, but it seems like we need to pull back down here into, like I said, these 39.09 area for support. And I just noticed that we've still got these weak references. We got a poor low that we left behind yesterday. And I remembered it was like just a few points above this other weak reference. And that's a bit fishy to me. So I'm bearish to head down into this support, into this node, and then kind of monitor for continuation lower from there. Do we find support and get a bounce back up above the opening price? Or do we just kind of continue to melt lower? If so, I would target the repair of that poor low. You've also got the tick starting to trend lower. So that's a bit bearish to see. Trend lower and stay below the zero line. Screwball, slow melt day. I don't know. I mean, value is higher, so I don't think we need to go back and fill the gap from Friday. It feels like maybe we just need some sideways rotation. But we'll just have to see how it reacts to that support. Now, the NQ might need to go fill its gap. ES and NQ are not on the same page right now. Like I said, things get real bearish for the Q if you break yesterday's low. But ES kind of looks good. Good for sideways. Cortman slap me around and call me Captain Obvious? Why do we have to slap you around? Are you into that sort of thing? All right, so with the printing of the C period here, oh, well, there you go. So now we have started one time framing lower, which is, of course, bearish. It is a sign of a trend to the downside. We've also left some single prints here in the B period. We expect those to need to be backfilled at some point, but then we'll be looking for resistance at the base of those single prints. So it's time for me to switch over to the private stream. I'm so sorry. There's 191 people hanging out. What up, everyone? You could always join the brigade. It only costs $10. For less than a tick on the ES, you could have insights all day, every day, all month long. I think it's a great deal. But if not, we will see you here tomorrow morning. As far as where to leave you for today, like I said, okay, ES and Q, totally different today. They're each doing their own thing. So ES to me feels like it's setting up for sideways rotation. So what I'm looking for, if this node right here that we're testing at the moment cannot hold this support, then I would look for us to repair that poor low that we left behind. So that's yesterday's low at 38.9250. And with the market trending lower, I would assume that that trend to the downside is going to continue until we get cessation of the trend. So until we get one of these 30-minute TPOs above the previous one, we're likely to keep going lower. So that's pretty bearish. And we do what we call monitoring for continuation. So first you repair the poor low. I mean, the week reference is only a few points lower, but then you repair the week reference. If that's enough to bring in the buyers, then great. We would look for rotation sideways. If not, if they'll need to head down and repair the next week reference, right? So if they head down and repair that, is that enough to bring in the buyers for continuation to the upside? If it's not, unfortunately, the next repair that exists is going to be the backfilling of the single prints all the way down to 38.5950. If that does not hold, then we got to fill that gap back down there to why does it say bottom of gap? It's an old one. So yeah, so if the base of the single prints at 38.5950 doesn't hold, the target becomes filling the gap all the way down to 38.06. I don't think that's what's going to happen. I think we're going to come down and repair these weak references and then just go sideways. But this is a possibility, and you obviously don't want to miss the opportunity to profit off of it. So as long as the market continues to one time frame lower, as long as each 30-minute candle continues to make lower highs, you want to stay in that short and squeeze as much out of it as you can. So now let's flip over and look at the the NQ. See, that to me is very bearish that they need to repair that gap. So there's a couple little bits of support here around 1947 or 11947 and then 11917. But if those two break, you're going to have to go down and fill that gap all the way to 11,770. So the market has sent us the signal it doesn't want to continue going higher today, but it is still a question of sideways or down. And that one time framing, that'll be your best clue. Thank you all very much. Have a wonderful rest of your day. If you're in the brigade, let's ride.